Black people, frontline communities are always most impacted by climate change, by climate disaster, but we're often the last people that people think about. So, and then always when we have these really big protests in DC, people forget that people live in DC. There's 700,000 people who live here. Black people are still 47%. And so we're highlighting local communities that are doing work with climate change, environmental racism in DC, to remind folks that we can't be erased, and also to honor all the hard work for decades and decades that these mostly Black women have put into this work here.
Naomi Klein said that you cannot have a climate movement without social justice.
Yep.
What are your comments on that?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that Black and brown communities, marginalized communities, are always impacted the most, and the least cared about, and the least able to have the resources to adapt or acclimate to new climate realities. You cannot, there's not a way for you to talk about saving the earth for future generations if you can't save the generations that have been suffering the longest. And that it is a social justice issue. Housing is a climate issue.
The east of the river matters. The east of the river matters. Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Black women east of the river do not have maternity care. A Black woman east of the river cannot deliver a baby east of the river. We ain't scared of your surveillance. Not at all. Now you know what I'm about. Shame.
Okay, great.
Listen to the scientists. What does Greta say? Listen to the scientists. What does Greta say?
Listen to the scientists.
What does Greta say?
Listen to the scientists.
Mike, what is your message?
Our message is that business as usual is over in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. We're here to take climate action to a new level. We're blockading Independence Avenue. We're inspired by Greta Thunberg and all the students striking all over the world. And we want to do our part and take our political protest to the next level to be bolder and clearer in what we do.
You can't hide, we can see your greedy side. Hey big oil, you can't hide, we can see your greedy side. Hey big oil, you can't hide, we can see your greedy side. Hey big oil, you can't hide, we can see your greedy side.
Si hay playa hay alcohol, si hay alcohol hay sexo, si es contigo mejor. Si hay...
Cannot do business as usual. We had an amazing climate strike on Friday with 4 million young people around the world making sure that we can transition from fossil fuels to clean energy. But we know how these oil executives, what they'll do. They will come to work on Monday morning to continue their process of extraction and killing the planet. And so here we are Monday. It will not be business as usual. So we're shutting down DC because most of these politicians who take fossil fuel money, as well as most of these companies, are based here in DC. And so we are saying that no more. This madness must stop. And so we're shutting it down.
Right behind you is the U.S. Capitol. Almost all of those folks over there, with the exception maybe one or two, are in the pockets of big oil. Do you think they're going to hear us, finally?
Well, that's the thing. What we're doing now is what was done by Rosa Parks on the bus, what was done by farm workers, which has been done over many, many years that, listen, no matter what you think, we understand the power of policy. So we're out here because either you shape policy or policy shapes you. But at the same time, we understand the power of people. And organized people beats organized money every single time. And so what we're saying is that, listen, if you be organized money, you're going to lose, because this is organized people, and we're unifying, and we're organizing, and we're energizing our people to make sure we shut down DC.
We're going to end by reflecting on the action, on what we did, and also honoring the people who cannot be here in the streets because they're fighting for their lives. Yes. A moment of silence.
And you were involved in the student shutdown of New York Avenue at the Exchange 295. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so we had over 60 college students from 5 different universities in the DMV come out in force to shut down all 7 lanes of New York Avenue and shut down the 395 for 2 hours.
And you know that your traffic delays back traffic all the way up to Baltimore to travel 4-hour delay.
Yeah, the police blocked, they went back a few blocks. We couldn't see any cars inside.
Well, you all carried the day, and this is your generation is coming up. The planet is literally on fire as we speak. How do you feel about that?
It's stressful. Like I'm sure for me and for most of my peers, it's not something like we necessarily want to do. You know, skipping school and going to do stuff like this, but we feel like it's a moral imperative. Like we don't have a choice.
And if you were speaking right now to the Congress, what would you tell the Congress?
We're on a timeline. We're having the wrong debate. We can't be debating over whether or not this is happening. It is happening. We just have to acknowledge that, move on, and start talking about how we can fix it.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna calm this crisis down. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter. I hear